inevitable that this infrastructure deal would come together. In the age of cynicism and punditry, we kind of grow accustomed around here to believing that it's hard to get good things done in Washington, D.C., and that's not good for any of us. Those of us here in the Senate, we signed up to do a job. We were sent here to do a job. We were sent here to work. And, Mr. President, that's it. That's how we came to be where we are, through work, through hard work, through compromise. So it wasn't magic, it wasn't accidental, it wasn't inevitable. We went to work, and for a time, I think we really banished the demon of faction that casts his scepter all too often. Alexander Hamilton warned us of this polarizing temptation, and as the champion of infrastructure, or they called it internal improvements in the days of the Founding Fathers, I'm hoping that he's looking favorably on us today. But again, this has not been an easy road, this infrastructure project. Every morning, those of us that were involved in these negotiations, we'd wake up not surprised to read in the paper or see on TV that something had happened outside our control that was designed to kill this package. And every day, instead of taking in those headlines, we saw our constituents. We heard from them. We heard from the people across this country urging us to continue. People like Carl Yucatel, Mario Cordero, Chris Connor, they penned an op-ed in one of our Alaska newspapers, and they urged us to advance the bipartisan infrastructure framework, because for them, the emphasis on what it would do to build out our ports and our waterways were significant. The emails, the phone calls that we received reminded us of the infrastructure and how important it is for industries, for the jobs, for Alaskans, for folks all over the country, for health, the future. And they reminded us that we have an opportunity to do something that actually matters in their lives and in their communities. And the other thing that I heard, Mr. President, they wanted us to do it together. Figure it out, you guys. Work together. When you look at the survey data that is out there, it's pretty resounding. Several different polls show 87% of Americans overwhelmingly support for fixing infrastructure. The list of organizations that support it, everyone from the American Wire Rope Fabricators to the Institute of Manufacturers of Explosive to the National Governors Association to the Steel Manufacturers Association to TechNet. This bipartisan infrastructure package proves that good things can happen in Washington, D.C., but that it takes work. And it takes a majority of those of us in this chamber deciding that it's better to get some of what our constituents want rather than none of it. It's better to make progress and actually deliver results to your constituents rather than just delivering a message. We do a lot of messaging around here. And as my friend, the senator from West Virginia, reminds us, a message doesn't fix a pothole. Now, I have been disappointed that we haven't been able to get some of the amendments that we have heard about today. We've heard Senator Shelby from Alabama talking about defense infrastructure. We've heard the senator from Texas, Senator Cornyn, talk about flexibility to the states. We've heard the senator from Pennsylvania, Senator Toomey, working with Senator Wyden and Senator Lummis on the cryptocurrency issue. And so, again, is this perfect? No. But is it a process that has delivered us to a place where we are delivering results to the people who have sent us here? Mr. President, I was on the floor late last week outlining many of the benefits that Alaskans will see from this measure, but I want to take a few more minutes this afternoon to highlight just a couple more in perhaps some detail. because, as I've mentioned, and everyone knows, part of the role or the view that I offered in our bipartisan working group was to make sure that the needs of rural Americans were met. And this bill addresses some of the greatest infrastructure needs that again, we see in rural America, but also in urban, and everyone in between, to connect them in ways that we haven't before. Southeast Alaska, this is the region of the state that I grew up in. It's an islanded archipelago. It is not possible to travel by road from one city in the southeastern part of the state to another, for the most part. Our capital is not accessible by road. Our reality is that we either travel by airplane or we are traveling on the water. So a strong ferry system, the Alaska Marine Highway System, is absolutely essential to local economic development, to quality of life, to community well-being. There are 35 different ports along the Alaska Marine Highway System. This spans an area of 35,000 miles. I'm only looking at my colleague from Delaware because we've been working on the ferry initiative, and he's proud of the ferry system that he has there. But I got a lot of water that I've got to cover, and it makes it challenging. It makes it challenging, but it's no different than Delaware in terms of the significance that these small ferries can offer to people as they're moving their families around, as they're moving the basketball team, as they're going to Costco in Juneau and then delivering them to Hoonah, to those military who are PCSing, going outside the state. They've got to move their families and all their goods and the dogs and the trucks, and they got to get out of town, and they get out by way of the ferry. It's easy to compare Alaska's ferry to an urban bus or subway system or other form of mass transit that receives operations support. But until now, because Alaska's communities are rural and not urban, our ferry system hasn't been eligible for any meaningful federal support for its operations. There's been some federal funding available through allocation formula or grant program to the ferry system for both construction and maintenance, but now ferry operators will be able to use funding for construction, maintenance, repairs, and operations costs.